I'd like to welcome everyone to the next episode of Unido Talks. Today we have a special episode. It's a part of our Founder Spotlight series in which we have one of our founders, Michael Swan. Michael, it's awesome to be able to catch up with you and have this podcast.
Hey folks, very nice to see you. I enjoy our talks where we bring in third parties and we go through industry topics, but it's great also to see you guys direct and give you a bit of my background.
Yeah, so let's dive right in, Michael. For people just now learning about Unido or getting into crypto, could you give our community members or people researching a little bit about your financial background?
Sure. So I have come from traditional finance. I've been an investment banker for my career. I started at Macquarie Bank, which is an investment bank in Australia, in global funds custody. And then I spent the majority of my career at Goldman Sachs, where by the time I left, was the vice president in the executive office. So that's the function which manages the various businesses of the firm. It's a very interesting industry to be in, investment banking, as you get a lot of access to a lot of things in finance. The firm's a very large firm, obviously Goldmans, is across many clients. You get to know their businesses at an intrinsic level. And you get insights onto how these businesses operate from an operations perspective, from a strategy perspective, from a personnel, from top executives perspective. So it gives you an interesting insight to how the world of corporates at large operate and the problems they face and how they solve these things. Sometimes they're a financial exercise, sometimes they're non-financial, but how they go about strategy. And having that insight is both very interesting, but it's good experience when leading into starting a new business and going and looking to serve corporates and SMEs.
What was it that made you decide to join forces with Chris to start Unido?
So there's two parts to that. I had been a crypto enthusiast. I came very late. I got interested at about 2015. And it was very obvious to me working in financial services and seeing the limitations of things like the SWIFT network for funds transfer or settlement procedures for when you buy and sell securities between institutions, that there are inefficiencies. And crypto seemed to solve a lot of those things from an efficiency perspective. I know folks will remember I bang on at this at length. The evident issue is the private key. When you work at an institution like Goldmans, or even when you have insights into just corporates, how they operate, very few corporates operate on the basis that one person controls all the power. The board of directors is a committee, there are subcommittees, then there's various officers who are in charge of various processes. And it just seemed incongruent to have the control over a wallet, undisputed control, over one single key that one single person holds. So it didn't really work for corporates. But it occurred to me that the solution and the efficiencies this brings, surely the private key won't be a roadblock that enterprises simply can't run with this. There must be a solution. So I'd been doing my research and I came across Chris through a mutual contact and learned about what they were doing. It was very early in the piece. I know they'd been developing earlier before I joined the idea of a multi-party wallet and multi-signatures with a distributed key. And took a few times to understand the technology, a few conversations with Chris, but it became really evident that it doesn't betray the decentralized nature. The private key doesn't sit in one section with someone else. You hold the key, which was the spirit of blockchain, that the person who owns the asset holds the key, so that still rings true. But then all the benefits of the multi-party computation, the splitting the key up that I've talked at length. Those things, when speaking to Chris, just became very evident that was the solution. And then if you play it forward and you see what players like Fireblocks have done, they really validated that MPC was an acceptable solution for corporates. So I jumped in and gave some angel money into the project and was ready to roll once we got to a fully functioning product ready to take to market.
Could you give us a little bit of an update to the Unido roadmap and talk a little bit about how Unido's been making just a small pivot to serve a broader audience than just SMEs?
We originally, and as I just explained from my personal focus out of finance, was focused at the corporate issue. But the reality is the Unido EP wallet solves security and redundancy issues for individuals as well. Now, if you look at the individual market, banking's a good example. Many people have both to sign checking accounts or single one of two to sign, which is very analogous to what we have with our signing instructions on the wallet. Individuals, mums and dads, people in small partnerships, they need these solutions. If they need it for banking, they need it for crypto as well. There is no solution out there that's in a lightweight format, that's distributed, that you don't hand your key over to anyone. The market is totally underserved, and it's a legitimate market to pursue. As I mentioned, that there's other plays in the corporate space like Fireblocks, for instance. But when we look at the individual market for a DApp solution, not an exchange-based solution, there really isn't anything there. But it's very clear that the market needs this, both in first world industrialised countries all the way down to underbanked third world countries. All these individuals have the same need of redundancy, security around their assets, and how they share control of these assets. It's a universal need, and it's not being met. So we took a view that this is an untapped market, and that we really need to be providing a solution here. And especially at the moment with the current bear conditions, corporates are slow and holding their balance sheet back. This is the perfect market to attack, because individuals, mums and dads, their assets remain. They need to manage them. They need real solutions. And as you know, Joe, we launched live. The product is absolutely live and running. So it seemed to make sense. Let's give it to the folks that really need it.
Yeah, it's shocking that more software developers and companies have not created sort of these joint crypto wallets that have been around in financial institutions for quite a while now.
Yeah, look, I think people haven't drawn the parallels to what individuals need necessarily. If you look at most exchange accounts, they're single operator systems, unless you have sub-accounts that operate them, which are usually associated with the corporate accounts. But if you look at any online banking solution in Australia, which is a good example, you have your online logins for your net banking needs, and you have joint accounts, and some payments can be issued by one person and some need to be signed off by others. I don't see a reason that there wouldn't be the exact same need, if not more, for crypto. Some people have more crypto assets than they have cash assets in a bank account. So these things need to be protected. It's just that it's an immature market that hasn't been served yet with these products. The obvious options are things like exchanges adding multi-sig on, but then you come back to the original use case of cryptocurrency is decentralized. People want to own their own keys. They don't trust third parties to necessarily hold the keys, where they have no recourse to the assets. You know, it's very topical the last month or two with what's been going on in the market and under collateralized exchanges. People want to take control of their own assets, not risk them on an exchange. The solution provides perfectly for it. I think it's just the immaturity in the market that there aren't the options out there, and luckily enough, we're going to be a first mover for individuals in this segment, so I'm really excited.
As the chief commercial officer, you deal a lot with organizations and financial institutions, which move at a much different pace than retail investors. Could you just give us a little peek behind the curtain and explain what that process looks like to some of our community members who may not know what it's like dealing with these financial institutions?
Yeah, sure. So, as we know, the way we're going to deliver Unido is an online website for individuals. They do their due diligence by reading the page, accept the pricing model, and click download. It's something you can get your head around in about 15 minutes. With a corporate, and especially the more sophisticated or listed companies, or once you get all the way through to institutions, the point is it's so slow because there are so many stakeholders. If you look from a startup, you need to hold their hand because they don't necessarily have a crypto product. They want to build a product around our solution, for instance, which of course is Unido Insto. So that's not just a matter of saying, let's sign a contract and start the product. There's integration, there's development, but before you even get there, you need to scope out what a product is, how the product works, how fees are charged, what rules are going to be around, what controls the institution or the corporate wants to put around who can transfer, the volumes being transferred out. Is there oversight on the transfer to whom they're transferring out to? So you really got to scope up these products. Now, of course, corporates, there's rarely one individual person that designs the product, has all the compliance considerations in their head, and they sign off without any oversight. Maybe a CEO, but frankly, CEOs aren't in the hands-on workshops planning these things. They sign off on a plan once these things are developed. So point being, there's many, many stakeholders. They all need to be consulted. They all need to liaise together and develop these things. It takes months, if not years, to get a new product up and running, especially in the banking space, because of course financial institutions are regulated. They have a lot more considerations. They've got entire compliance departments that need to ratify how they're going to control their clients' behaviours. They have to go through the legal framework. They've got to make sure they legally can provide these things. And remember, we're talking about cryptocurrency and digital assets. This is the new frontier. A lot of the regulations are immature. There's no specific regulation for what these clients want to necessarily pursue. So they're having to liaise with lawyers. They're having to go to the regulator and get clarity. These things take so much time. These are worthwhile discussions for us to have because we have Unido Insto, it's ready to go. We have a functional product. We have these discussions we're having various discussions ongoing for folks who want to provide custody, those who want to provide margin lending products, those who want to provide swap products to their clients. But it's not simply a matter of having the appetite to do it and agree the fee structure and we deliver the cloud to them. It could be that simple, but the reality is it's not. There's just so many considerations, so many stakeholders, so much research and work that needs to go into these things. It's a really slow burn. Now, they are lucrative and they're very scalable because, of course, the client builds the client base and we provide the tech software and that's about it. So they're very much worth pursuing, but we do them in tandem. Our first and foremost is to get EP to the market through the retail segment, and then of course we'll lead on to the SMEs and corporate end, but we're focused on retail right now because that's immediately addressable. We're talking to the instos mid conversation, but these are done in parallel because, as I've banged on now, it just takes forever, these processes, to get to a procurement agreement.
And the great thing about Unido is it has the plug-and-play functionality for retail, but it also has all of the features needed for institutions and enterprises to really, have a battle-tested software that works for millions or billions of dollars of assets. So it works for retail. It also works for institutions alike, which is a great thing. When we're talking about the frontier of regulation and why things move so slow, in that same sort of vein, we saw the United States Treasury a week or two ago clamp down on Tornado Cash and effectively ban Tornado Cash from any users using it. And basically, if you interact with Tornado Cash, you are in effect breaking the law. How do you see regulation coming into play when it's because regulation really comes from nation states? So crypto, as we know, is global. How do you see regulations like Tornado Cash getting banned having an effect on the crypto market as a whole, or DeFi as a whole? What's your take on that? Because you're in Australia. Unido's in Australia. We're not. It's a weird place to be, isn't it?
Look, we're a developer in Australia. We sell into all markets, including the US. With crypto, it is really the new frontier because it changes the paradigm of how you operate from finance. Usually finance is a counterparty activity. Me as a customer, I go to my bank. We're two legal entities and we pursue a transaction of some sort. If I'm sending money to a third party via my bank, I have a transaction with my bank transacts with another bank. These are all known parties to each other. They complete KYC on each other because they are obliged to do so under the regulations for financial services. Now, when you look at things like DeFi pools where these are smart contracts published to a blockchain, sometimes they can be published by unknown parties. And the reality is you don't know who you're dealing with. You're dropping assets into a smart contract that is not a legal entity. It falls outside of the structure of what we typically understand for normal finance. So if you read forward into any industrialized market that has strict financial services regulations, I don't see that there will be much change in the anti-money laundering laws. You need to know who you're dealing with. When you're swapping one asset for another, it's a financial service when they're marketable assets. So I think that we're going to see, as regulation increases, AML constraints similar to what we've seen from OFAC will be more and more widespread. These will be policed, I think you'll find, at the user level. So I think you already alluded to it. It's illegal for the individual users to interact with the Tornado contracts because you can't go sue a smart contract or put a smart contract in prison. So I suspect the regulation will be focused on the end user, the individuals, that they don't interact with I'll call it broadly, services, where they can't maintain basic AML regulation style checks, your usual KYC checks, the know your counterparty type checks. So I think Tornado Cash is an interesting example, and it was probably a specific example because there was there was unknown transactions from parties of concern for that particular protocol. But the issue exists globally on any DEX, right, at the end of the day, where the parties aren't known. As the regulators get up to speed, and if they do follow through with a policy that, despite it being decentralised, you as an individual have your responsibility to know who you're trading with, I think you'll see regulations which impinge on how DEXs operate today. What that means, I don't know. It doesn't necessarily mean the DEXs have to stop, but I suspect there'll be some level of KYC. We've seen lots of digital ID token projects, so perhaps you need to operate with a DID token, just off the top of my head, those sorts of solutions. In short, I think the DEXs will have to change. The ones that don't will risk the same sorts of bans that Tornado Cash have seen, and it'll be the end user, of course, that it comes back to. How they police that, if your assets are on and you haven't gone via an on-off ramp and you've just procured crypto somehow, of course the wallets aren't attached to a person necessarily, is yet to be seen. It just seems logical to me that the only person to pursue and apply a law to and consequences to are people, so I suspect it'll be the end users that are policed, not necessarily the project publishers. Having said that, I mean, if a project originated in the US and it was known people, I suspect Department of Justice might be interested in that too.
I think one person has been arrested. One developer may have been arrested already, which is pretty interesting. You mentioned DIDs, personal IDs, basically, that live on the blockchain. And Vitalik Buterin has actually recently been advocating for developers to promote, or rather develop, soul-bound tokens, as he calls it, but basically identity within your wallet. At your VC firm, Tokenomic, are you seeing some of these projects coming through, or these KYC elements that live on the blockchain? Yes. Are you seeing some of that happening?
Yeah, look, and this isn't anything particularly new. Anyone who follows Tokenomic will know one of our earliest investments, and I'm an advisor with them, is Hypersign, which is a digital ID project in India that they've developed, and they're miles along in their project roadmap. They are not the only ones, there are several. But the idea of possession of an NFT or something similar which identifies you and can be certified if you turn up with the ID of that NFT to a third party, those sorts of constructs make a lot of sense because we're really planning for where we expect regulation to go. If I was right in my earlier question response, AMLs and KYC requirements aren't going to go away, because this is crypto. It's simply right. They will close the on and the off ramps. People will get identified. I think these are really critical steps when we look at where the industry is going with regulation. So the sooner we look at robust DID solutions that are out there, it'll set the sort of the various projects into the ones that want to be compliant with the regulation. They're proactive about that, and they'll build in requirements for DID where there's a financial service or equivalent involved in what their project does, and there'll be the ones that don't care, and one would expect the regulators will pursue the latter. So I think it's a really good step to be pushing these initiatives, because I can't see an alternative other than everyone will eventually be doxed in one way. It's just a matter of how that is done.
How far off do you think we are from those implementations being put on DEXs or wallets or exchanges? How far off do you think that is?
Well, exchanges, they're there today because they are licensed financial services, so they have KYC requirements, of course, and most of them do unless they operate outside the regulations. Things like DEXs, it does require a rewrite of the contract. Then you need, from a commercial perspective, to ensure that people who use, I'll use Uniswap as an example, I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong, but then they have to think about their user base, that have enough people got these DIDs who are still providing liquidity to the pools or putting swaps in every day to maintain an ongoing business, or you add this element and the thing turns into a ghost town. So there's various considerations, and I think that will add to a long lead time as people get their heads around they really do need DID or some sort of solution, but also the users do too. There's a user acceptance process. And of course, there's a large segment of crypto who are very concerned about their identification and their privacy. And I suspect there will be pushback from there. Where we get to, whether it's encrypted DIDs and only need to know might be acceptable, it'll be really interesting to see if each wallet essentially ends up having a name printed on it, or it has a serial number, or it has some sort of encrypted serial code which can only be undone with the wallet holder's permission. Some sort of combination of that. I am very intrigued to see where we get to.
Yeah, and I think with the ZK rollups and more of these optimistic rollups, we'll be able to extract that information clear. We'll be able to know who we're interacting with without having to give up all of our personal identifiable information. And eventually, it's going to take some time, but hopefully that's where we'll get to. Michael, when you're not working, when you're not doing venture capital work and looking at projects, what are you doing to cut loose? What are some of your hobbies?
Look, I go to the gym every day. People that know me at the gym often see, and this is the problem, I try to get my workout in. Sometimes I've seen with the headphones in, talking too loudly on my phone, so business impinges on that. I live in Manly, so I live on the beach. It's winter now and freezing, but I'm looking forward to when I can swim again. And being outdoors and active, I got a convertible Wrangler, which I'm still yet to take off-road,
Nice.
but it's very much in my head, do camping and all that sort of stuff. But it has embarrassingly never left the tarmac, so we need to change that. Getting outdoors, being active, and especially having kids, a young family, having them cooped up doesn't work. They want to get out and ride bikes and everything, so you do things that are in line with that. So they're active, so I'm active. I go to the gym so I can keep up with them.
Do people ever go camping in the middle of Australia, like the outback? Is that a thing?
They do. So we're really lucky in Sydney. We've got some very large national parks, and certain ones you can camp in, and then you go up a bit north and you can take the four-wheel drives out on the beach and over the sand dunes. One of the earliest Star Wars was shot out in these sand dunes, so it's I have an 8-year-old daughter who loves Star Wars, so I can turn that into a theme day and we'll go and have a look where it was shot. But yeah, look, it's a big country. We're heavily underpopulated for the size of the island, of course, but there's not much in the middle of the island. Yep, you can go and you can take your four-wheel drive pretty much to Ayers Rock. Can't camp on the rock, of course, but you can camp out there. There's a lot to be discovered. I need to do more in Australia because I've travelled reasonably wide globally, and I do enjoy my beach holidays, but I should see more of the country that I live in, I must admit.
That's very cool. Well, maybe you'll be able to take the Wrangler out with the kids and and relax here in a bit. Well, Michael, thank you so much for this one-on-one of our Founder Spotlight interview, and hopefully our community finds some value out of this and get some little nuggets of gold out of this.
Pleasure, Joe. Thank you for having me. Thanks for the time. Community, keep in touch, stay on the socials. We'll have the updates coming through as we continue our global marketing push. We'll give you updates on what we're doing and some snippets, and we'll want your participation to help push the message. So, bye for now.